This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we find ourselves in the city. We're cooperatively trying to gather different items like boots and potions and armor, and then we're going to go through the roads and find ourselves out and around outside the city of Gloomhaven. Today we're going to be looking at that cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, and I'm going to show you the very basics of how it works and also how big this is and all the different things that this campaign-based game has for it. So let's take a look. I'm going to show you the basics of Gloomhaven, and I'll see you on the other side. Gloomhaven is a scenario-based dungeon crawler style game, where over the course of the game you'll be going through about 95 different scenarios, and they have different numbers around the map, and you'll be going to different spots and opening up new spots on the map throughout the campaign. Now it comes with this big scenario book that starts with number 1 and literally goes up to 95 different scenarios. It shows you how to set it up, and shows you all the special rules and win conditions of all the different scenarios. It also gives you a list of the different characters that you could start with and some suggested types of items you can start them with. There's also global achievements that you'll be putting on the board as you do different things throughout the game. Now there's a party sheet that you'll fill out, your team name with all the players that you're playing with, and it gives you a spot to track notes, some specific party type of achievements you might get, and you can move your reputation up and down throughout the game by doing different things, which will help you have different modifiers for the different things you could buy in the shop to help your party out. And when you start off, you select a character. There's many of these in the box. Some of the ones that you're supposed to start with, it comes with a box full of stuff and a miniature that you'll use throughout the game. Now, the game comes with an absolutely mammoth box. It houses all the other characters that you'll be unlocking throughout the game, all the miniatures, and it comes with a ton of other stuff. This box is absolutely crammed full when you first get it. I've emptied it out just to kind of show you the characters and such. I think this is like 15 pounds. Now in the box for your character, you're going to get a nice player aid, some specific cards to that character. We already talked about the miniature. And outside of that character box, you'll be getting things to track your health and your experience point. And different characters have different things depending on what level you are. Everyone starts at level 1, so he starts with 10 health. And I mentioned you go to Gloomhaven. There's tons of things that you can buy there. But here's just 2 of the things that this character had bought. You get 30 gold to start the game at the beginning, and you'll be getting gold throughout different scenarios and going back to the city of Gloomhaven and buying more things or selling them for half price. But you can get different things like this will help me move, this will help me heal, and so on. Now each character also gets a specific amount of cards depending on their character, and they all start with a bunch of level 1 cards. There's some that you can actually even swap out for level 1 cards. They're called X cards. But over the course of the game, as you level up, you're going to be able to swap out cards with stronger cards. And each character box comes with a pad of paper where you'll be tracking your experience points over time, how much gold you have, certain items, what level you're at, and there's going to be ways that you're going to be able to upgrade your character and modify things throughout the game. And one of the ways to upgrade these is everyone gets these 2 battle gold cards. They're all different, and you get to select one of these. For example, if you kill 5 or more monsters, you'd get 1 check mark. And once you get 3 check marks, you can add a perk which will upgrade your character. This one says, hey, loot no money, tokens, or treasures during this scenario, but you'd get 2 because it's harder to do, or it costs you a little bit more. You get to select one of these, and it's secret, so nobody knows what you're secretly trying to do in this scenario. Now everyone also gets to select from 1 of 2 personal quests that they'll go on. This one basically says complete 4 boss scenarios. Again, this is secret as well, but once you do this would take a while, you'd get to unlock new things in Gloomhaven. So you'd get to open this box, which is a new character, and different things will unlock throughout the game as you're able to retire characters and get these personal quests done. Now I've set up here sort of a fictitious scenario to not spoil anything, but we have 2 of the heroes here. We're playing 2 players, and then there's a certain amount of monster types here. And here's different monsters. We have, a living corpse, we have a living bones, and we have some archers. Yellow says it's elite, and there's a door. Once you get through here, you could reveal everything that would show up in that room afterwards. Now everything is card driven in this game with your actions. You're going to be selecting 2 cards to select for that round. Now once you've selected your cards, you'll put them down, and then you'll simultaneously reveal once everyone has selected their cards. The card that you flip over will have an initiative number. This will say what order you're going to be going in. So here's my both cards. So I had an initiative of 54. Now, the way this works is all the monsters get initiatives too, and there's a bunch of these little shields that you put in, and you put the specific monster that's in there, and it shows you basically the different monsters, and each of these monsters also have initiative cards and action cards that they'll be using. And just to show you how many monsters are in this game, I mean, this is a ginormous stack of different types of monsters that can be in the different scenarios. So we flip each one of these up to see their initiatives. So here where they have a 31, a 64, and a 32. Now ours was 54, so not talking about the other player that's playing with us. If we were just talking about the heroes and the villains and us, it would be this one goes first, then this, then me at 54, and then the Living Bones at 64. But we have another party with us, another hero, and they're going to go ahead and try to move as well. But let's assume that the other hero is going to go last. So here we have the archers going to go first. Now these are modifiers. By normal standards, the archers will move to the right side's for the elite, the gold ones, and they will attack of a 2 at a range of 4. So because they're shooting with their bows and arrows, where the elite can move to attack with a value of 3 with a range of 5, and these would modify that. In this case, it just has to be nothing. These are very basic modifiers. The decks also have more complex cards, but these are just some basic ones. So we'd go ahead and activate the different archers in elite first and then in numbered order. So that elite archer is going to go first, and it's going to move until it basically is in the range of its best attack. And it has range up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it could hit both of these. They're equal. When there's tied, it's going to hit the one that's closest. But in this case, they're tied. So they'll hit the one that has the lowest initiative, the one that has the lower number that will go first, and it's the brute. Now, in addition to its normal damage, which in this case is 0 plus its normal, which is 3, so it's doing 3. There's a modifier deck, and these have different numbers from some small minus numbers, some small positive numbers, some 0, so that wouldn't modify at all, so it would do 3 damage. And you can see, the numbers go down to -2, or it could be, +1 or something like that. In this case, it's 0, so doing 3 damage. So the brute started with 10 health, and they would go down to 7. Now, you have the option of, instead of taking damage, you have a bunch of cards, right? He starts with 10. Now, you could take any one card from your hand and lose it, which is putting it over here on the lost side, which basically means it's no longer available for this scenario unless you have special abilities to bring it back. And that's important because this sort of works like a clock, because if at any point in time you don't have enough cards to draw back in your hand and not enough in your discard, you're out of the scenario just as if you had died. Or you could also take 2 cards in your discard pile. The cards you play after you activate them go here, and you could end up spending 2 of those to the lost pile to not take damage. So there are ways to avoid damage, but it definitely costs you time because you have less time in the game when you do that. Then you'd go to Living Corpse and do the same thing. They'd move, they'd do a melee attack. The Living Corpse would suffer damage. They'd also push someone that they attacked away. And so this is how you track these ones here. So let's just skip over that and get to our actions to show you how the cards work. Now let's say these were the 2 cards we selected. 54 was our initiative. And when you select your actions, you're going to do either the top of this one and the bottom of this card, or vice versa, the top of this one and the bottom of this one. And when you activate the card, you can either do the action in that spot, or you can use these little things. The bottoms can always move 2, and the tops can always do a melee attack next to another hex for a damage of 2. But in this case, let's say we're going to use this for move 4, and then we're going to use this attack 3. This shows that if I'm next to something, 2 other enemies, I can hit them both starting with attack 3, and I can get an experience, which is tracked on here, which will help us upgrade throughout the different scenarios. So let's say we're going to move 4, then attack 3. So we got here 1, 2, 3, 4, move 4, and now because those 2 are next to each other, now we have a choice. We can either attack this one and this one, or this one and this one. So you get to decide that. And then, in addition to your attack 3, you also have a modifier deck. Now, this deck here, much like the other one I showed you, has different modifiers. Like in this case, it's -1. So instead of 3, it'd be a hit of 2. Now you'd use these for 1 for each of the monsters that are there. But there's also 1 card that would do double damage. And there's also 1 card that would be a complete miss. But after you pull one of these powerful cards, you shuffle the entire modifier deck and you go through. So you'd hit each of those based upon those modifiers. So we hit this archer, let's just say for the 2 after that modified, and then we put the damages here, and number 1 is the number archer that was on the board. The elite one was the number 1. This tells you which one you're putting it in. And the elite archer has 7 health, so they're down to 5 because we hit them with 2. Let's say during the Living Bones, we had a double hit, and we were able to take out that Living Bones because it only has 5. We had 3 attack, and it doubled to 6, so let's just say that Living Bones was dead. So you would remove that from the map and put a little gold token there. And these are worth a certain amount of gold depending on which scenario and which level you're playing and things like that. I think at the beginning these are worth 2 gold. And you would continue this round until all players and monsters have moved in their initiative order. And once everyone's done, you'll most likely move these cards to your discard pile unless they say that they stay out. And over the course of the game, and you keep going in those rounds, but over the course of the game, you're going to be coming with less and less choices as your cards start to run out, and you might want to rest. At the end of your turn, you can do a short rest, take all the cards you discard, you shuffle them up, and you randomly lose one to lost, which means they're out of the scenario, unless you can bring them back with a special ability. But if you don't like that card lost, you can take 1 damage, shuffle those cards again, the ones that are left, and take one off, but you got to keep that one. So that's a way to kind of get cards back in your hand through a short rest. Now on your turn, instead of playing 2 cards, you can take a long rest, which means you go last, initiative 99, you can still be getting hit from things. But at the end of the round, you get to choose which card goes to the lost instead of randomly, and you get to heal 2 health. So ways to get your rest back. And there's all sorts of abilities and items that can come back with long rests and things like that. There's also different elements that might get activated by playing cards, which would move this up here. And then there's other players' cards, or maybe even yours, that when you play them actually use these to activate stronger abilities. And if these don't get used at the end of the round, they kind of move down here, and then the next round they go down here, and they can't be used again. But there's ways that you can kind of use these to combo up other cards for either you or other players. Now those are the very basics of the game, but there's all sorts of effects that your cards can cause to people, like disarming where they can't attack, or stunning them, muddling, wound, poison. You can look at these. So they're all different things that are in the different cards, and some of the cards can be quite complex, but I just wanted to show you the very basics of the game. All right, well, there is the basics of Gloomhaven. Now, I want to preface this by saying that my perspective is I'm not one who's a big fan, typically, of dungeon crawls. They're fine, but they're not ones that I, just love to play and pull them out. It's not a style of game that I love. So coming from this perspective, because I know there's a lot of people that I've talked to while I've been playing this game and since I've been playing it that are in the same camp of me of, dungeon crawls never been my thing, but this thing has had so much hype going on it. So I wanted to see what it was all about. So first, let me cover all the positives that I liked. This box, my gosh, it has an amazing amount of content in this box. The thing is huge. It's like 15 pounds. There is just like, oh my gosh, you couldn't, there is just so much time and energy that you could spend in this game. I can't even imagine how much it took to put all this together. So there's a ton here. The thing I actually liked best about it was sort of that card system. So you're using those different cards for actions and for resting, and you gotta use the top of one, the bottom of the other. If you're sort of stuck, you can use just the basic move or the basic attack on any of the cards. And at the same time, you're using those cards for initiative, and you're trying to figure out, should I go first, should I go last, which is gonna be better for me, what are you guys gonna do? So for me, the best thing in here was sort of the card play. I don't really mind, I mentioned I didn't love dungeon crawlers in the first place, but I never really minded the dice rolling, but I know a lot of people do, and bringing this interesting card system into it, definitely it's something different here. I also loved working out a plan with others because this is a cooperative game. So you're really trying to figure out, okay, now what are you going to do this turn? Okay, you're going to run over here and you think you'll be able to take both of them out? Okay, so is there any way you can go first? Can you go really fast? And you can't exactly say what you're doing or how fast you're moving, but you can kind of like hint toward it. Yeah, I'm going to try to move pretty darn fast and get over there and get them, and then you can come over here. And I like the aspect of working together before without even knowing what the cards are, not knowing what your niches are, and trying to figure that out. Because I do like cooperative games quite a bit. They're one of my favorite genres. So I did like working that out through each other. I like the battle goal cards. You get 2 of them at the beginning of each scenario, and you're trying to figure out, well, which one am I going to try to do this turn, this scenario? And if so, I'll get like 1 check mark or 2 check marks. So once I get 3, I get a perk, and then I can upgrade different ways. Like I can upgrade, hey, I can take some of the zeros out of my deck, my modifier deck, or I can take some -1s out and put something better in, and things like that. I really like that aspect of it, and trying to figure out what things. Like the last one I had was like, hey, you cannot loot anything, and I was like, oh. Someone was like, hey, why don't you just go get that gold? And I was like, I'm doing a ranged attack. So it's kind of cool in that regard. I always like secret goals and things. I also like the personal quests, which you get to choose at the beginning when you get your character, and it's something that's usually pretty far off that you need to try to do. It'll be a while, but once you do, you get to retire that character, and you get to go back in and unlock a bunch of new stuff, and I think that's cool too. Adding new people and new characters is easy. Basically, you can just bring them in at the level of what your prosperity of your city is, because a lot of times you play these big campaign games like, oh man, I gotta play with the same people all the time. Not necessarily. You can play with a different party. Of course, you'll lose the party achievements you've had before, but you can kind of move people in and out of playing different things, and I think that's a big positive here, because if you had to play the whole thing by yourself, almost like if it was a legacy game, it'd be a lot harder to do that. And I just love the huge world, and how much content there actually is in this game is mind-blowing. You know, very often we see games that come out and they almost release an expansion alongside the game. I've reviewed a few this year that do that. And this game's just like, we're not going to pull any punches. We're just going to give you everything up front. And if you ask for an expansion, there's something wrong with you, because this thing is like crazy big. So I give them props for bringing out a humongous full game altogether. Now, let's talk about some of the negatives here. As I mentioned earlier, my perspective is I don't typically like dungeon crawlers, but man, this game obviously is the #1 game as I record this on Board Game Geek, which back in the day it was a lot harder to get games to go up there, but now the industry has grown so much, the number of ratings and things like that, it can fluctuate a little bit more, but still to come off and hit #1 and to be many people's game of the year, to be many people's favorite game of all time, to win like all 6 Golden Geeks awards that it was nominated for. I mean, it's just been the biggest thing ever, I think, in the hobby market. And so really, one of the cons is it's unfortunate, but no game could ever live up to this hype. It doesn't for me. I know it doesn't for other people. I know it does for some people, but I think it's kind of unfair to say, well, does it live up to what it's supposed to be? No, it doesn't, but I don't really think any game really could. But now to my next main point is, during playing through this campaign and talking to other people, I've seemed to run into and talk to a lot of people that feel like me. They're like, hey, you know what? Dungeon crawlers really aren't my thing, but man, there's so much buzz. I just want to see what it's like. And to those people, I've talked, and almost pretty much everybody has agreed with me here and said, you know what? For the ones that didn't like dungeon crawlers, they're going to say what I'm about to say, which is, cool, I liked some of the things that I said, but this game doesn't make me want to enjoy the genre. It doesn't make me want to play more dungeon crawls. It doesn't make me want to continue to play this game a lot, because maybe it's just a personal preference. There's nothing specific that I can say, you know what, I don't like this. I don't like this. This is broken. I can't find anything specific. All I can say is that the experience in a whole isn't something that I enjoy to the point where I want to keep playing it. So if you're one of those people out there that said like, hey, I don't really like dungeon crawlers, don't worry. You don't have to get the game. Maybe play it on someone else's if you're curious. But if you're not liking it, it's okay. It's okay to not like a game that many people, almost everybody, seems to love. And it's just not your thing, because not every game is for everybody, and that's okay. So if you found yourself like, oh man, I want to get it, I want to overpay for it, don't worry about it. It's fine. The people that I've talked to that like dungeon crawlers obviously love the game, but people that don't, I don't think it's going to make you like the genre, and that's how I feel about Gloomhaven.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.